Oh, one of you guys asked me to comment on this. There's an article going around. It started actually at Games Radar, but a bunch of websites have been clipping it. One of you guys sent me this and was like, can you comment on this? Basically, it's an article that the headline is like, Skyrim and Fallout artist says Todd Howard would tell devs, we can do anything, but we can't do everything, which is what we've heard him say in many interviews before. But he said further that 95% of player reported issues were flagged internally before launch. And this is the bit that's been going and making the rounds. Now, funnily enough, this is taken from a Kiwi Talks interview from last year that I believe we already looked at. So it's not actually news, quote unquote. Like there's nothing new about it. We've actually already talked about it, but yeah, it's basically the same thing we've heard before. They know that players are not going to like this or probably going to have a problem with that. But at some point in the dev process, it's just too late. Like I think they knew that players probably weren't going to love the constant load screens. What are they supposed to do? Like at some point, in development, it is what it is. Same thing with like Elder Scrolls 6 at this point. I think it is what it is. There's no changing it. It's locked in. That does kind of sound damning though. Yeah. Well, it's just, do you mean like them knowing about issues and then choosing not to do something about it? I don't know. I think it's the same thing where it's like the Pearl Abyss with Crimson Desert. They knew that players were frustrated by the controls. We told them that, I think a year and a half, 2 years ago was the first previews where people were verbalizing that. It was kind of difficult. But, it eventually became, they were able to work on it and figure it out, but they just had priorities. And I think in development, that's just the key thing, is that there's some times where X is the focus and sometimes where Y is the focus. And in this case, they just were focused on other stuff. And that's why ultimately game development is all about picking your battles and choosing where you want to put your resources. And in the case of like Starfield, I think they picked the wrong battles personally, but obviously some people really like it, and so maybe they picked the right ones. I don't know. It does sound like Todd and the team are working on loading improvements for Elder Scrolls 6. We can only hope. More streaming assets. Yeah, the way he phrased it was like how we can get detail close to the camera faster or immediately. I think he said immediately, which sounds like faster loading. I think the key is that like, and to its credit, Starfield's load screens are very quick. At least on a gaming PC, it's very quick. Like you load to the planet's surface, and then you're on the planet's surface. It's very quick, especially compared to like the PS4 era, but it's still a load screen. Like it's still disruptive. It's the difference between like, it's a little mosquito bite, so it's better than a bee sting, but you'd still rather not have any of them. It's like, yeah, it's very unintrusive insect bite. Okay, I still would rather not have any. Like it's better than the worst thing, but I still would wish, I still hope we could just not have it. Some people don't care. That's the thing that we've seen with a lot of this stuff in recent years, is that player tolerance has shifted. What used to be tolerated is now not really tolerated. The best thing was when Yves Guillemot, Little Frictions. So this is a letter from Yves Guillemot, September 2024, okay? This was after they delayed AC Shadows by months and months and months. They delayed everything in their pipeline. They said, this unusual decision at such an advanced stage is motivated by our desire to offer an optimal experience from launch on all platforms and various PC configurations, and to remove the small frictions we typically used to address in post-launch title updates. We will also use the extra time to complement the experience with a few high-impact secondary quests that will bring even more memorable moments. And I always thought that this was such a weird way of phrasing it. The small frictions we typically use to address in post-launch updates. It's basically just a fancy way of saying there are problems in the game that we used to just patch out after launch. Like they weren't a high enough priority to fix before launch, so we'd still put the game out, get to it later. And I thought this was so fascinating because it's like, he said the quiet part out loud, basically, which is like, yeah, we launched the game with it not good to go. It's got problems. We'll just fix those problems after launch, because players used to have a tolerance for it. They used to be like, yeah, it's fine. They'll fix it soon enough. Nowadays, doesn't really happen unless the game is like really phenomenal and people are willing to wait for it. Like an example being a Crimson Desert, where people are frustrated by certain aspects of it, but the team works so freakishly fast that within like a freaking day, they've patched stuff out. And we're going to talk about that because they just gave a roadmap of some of the stuff that they're changing and adding to the game. And dude, it's going to blow your freaking mind. Some of the stuff they're doing. It's outrageous. It's outrageous.